Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Big Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Thursday, February 15th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball bank shop best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Thursday in college hoops. First up, we see Tarleton State and UT Arlington. This one's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN+. I mean, there's no doubt that Tarleton State's been excellent this season, both in non-conference and WAC play. 17-7 overall record, 10-3 in conference play. However, this is a tough spot to be in for the Texans. I mean, you're coming off back-to-back road upset wins. It is really tough to win 3 straight true road games in this conference, really in any conference in college basketball, especially when you were, like I said, upset wins in the last 2. This could be considered a letdown spot for the Texans. And, last game, even more impressive at Seattle. They were a 7.5-point underdog in that game, and they won that game by 5, 82-77, the final score. I just can't get there with Tarleton in this game. When you look at the shot quality numbers, I am worried about this team going forward. Fundamentally, not the strongest team, not a great defensive rebounding team. They turn the ball over quite a bit. They take a lot of fouls. They don't get to the free throw line much themselves. And UT Arlington already proved they can play. They can compete with Tarleton. They played earlier in the season at Tarleton. It was a 2-point final score. It was 78-76 the final. So UT Arlington covered the number in that one. We took UT Arlington in that game. So they're playing with revenge, though. Even though they covered in that first game, they still lost outright. And now they get that spot here at home against Tarleton, who's on a 4-game win streak. 3 of those 4 wins were true road wins. I do think they're a bit overvalued because of recent performance. I'm going to go with UT Arlington here. Next up, we see Minnesota and Purdue. This one's going to be an 8:30 Eastern start time. It's going to be on the Big Ten Network. Purdue has put together so many blowout wins at home this season, so many double-digit victories in non-conference play, of course, but even in conference play against some of the teams in the Big Ten, that are similar to Minnesota, in my opinion. We saw a blowout win last time out for Purdue against Indiana, 79-59, the final score. Against Michigan back on January 23rd, 99-67, the final score in that one. They beat Penn State 95-78, and like I said, non-conference play, some really lopsided scores, 100-57. A 12-point win over Xavier at home. So, just a lot of double-digit wins for the Boilermakers. On the road, they haven't been as strong. That's where they have their 2 straight-up losses at Northwestern and at Nebraska. But at home, they are really solid, and I do like them to win this game and cover the number in the end. Minnesota, give them credit. They have played a lot better than I expected this year. They're 6-6 in conference play in a tough conference, and they're 15-8 overall, setting themselves up nicely to make a postseason tournament. Probably not the NCAA tournament, of course, but I think they're obviously when you look at last year's results, much improved this season. But I can't get there with them in this spot. A team that turns the ball over way too much. Coming off the loss to Iowa, where they had a big lead in that game. I think they had scored 51 points in the first half. You blow that lead, you lose the game by 5. You honestly were lucky to cover that game. Now you're on the road against Purdue, a team that can put up crooked numbers offensively, 80, 90, maybe 100 points. And the defense, unlike Iowa, is really, really strong. So I'm going to go with Purdue here. I'm going to lay the points at home. Next up, we see Stanford and Washington. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN2. One of the better games on the board for the Thursday card. Stanford, similar to a Minnesota, playing, I think, a lot better than what a lot of people expected going into the year. I mean, they have a winning record in conference play right now, winning record overall 12-11. This was a Stanford team that was one of the weakest teams in the Pac-12 last year. They finished with a 7-13 record in conference play, 13-18 overall. So, some slight improvements. And, they have the big upset win over Arizona, the smaller upset win over Utah, and they beat Washington earlier in the season. So, this has been a solid team this year. But Washington, like many teams in college basketball, especially these power conferences, plays its best basketball at home. They have a really nice home court advantage. We've seen them beat Gonzaga at home. They beat Utah at home. And now playing with revenge in this game, I think the Huskies grab a win and a cover in this game as well. In that first meeting against Stanford, it was a game where Stanford just went crazy from the perimeter, 13-24 from 3. 54%. We've seen that a few times from Stanford this year. They are a very good three-point shooting team. They're 7th best in the country. However, their season average is 39.4%, nowhere near 54%. So, and I think Washington's going to be a lot more competitive in the perimeter game in this one. They didn't shoot too well in that one from 3. And I think Washington overall, fundamentally, the stronger team. Stanford turns the ball over quite a bit. Not a very good offensive rebounding team. They really rely on making those three-point jumpers because they don't get to the free throw line much. And if the threes don't fall, which, they're on the road here against a solid defense, I think they're going to be in trouble. I like Washington in this matchup with revenge at home. Give me the Huskies. I think they grab the W. Next up, we see Gonzaga and Loyola Marymount. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on CBS Sports Network. As we know, Gonzaga coming off the huge must-win upset victory over Kentucky at Rupp Arena on Saturday, 89-85. We took Gonzaga plus the points and on the money line, and they got the job done in that one. And now in this spot, this is, I would say, even though I think Gonzaga trending upward, and that was a huge momentum-building win, a resume-boosting win. You don't get too many opportunities in the West Coast Conference for those types of victories because you're playing teams like Pepperdine and San Diego and Portland, and you don't get to play. Like, you play St. Mary's twice, you play San Francisco twice, you used to play BYU twice, but now they're in the Big 12. But that was a huge opportunity for Gonzaga against an SEC team like Kentucky, and they didn't waste that opportunity. But now, in your first game back from that win, I do think it's a clear letdown spot. And I think against the spread-wise, I think Gonzaga still wins this game, but against the spread-wise, I think this is just too many points. Loyola Marymount's on a 4-game losing streak. They lost to Gonzaga in the first meeting in blowout fashion. Like I said, Gonzaga coming off the upset win over Kentucky. It's just a really brutal spot for Gonzaga situationally, but also fundamentally, in that first matchup for against Gonzaga and Loyola Marymount, it was a really weird game for Loyola Marymount. They were on the road in that one. Gonzaga's defense isn't really the most aggressive. They don't really force a lot of turnovers. And Loyola Marymount does a pretty good job overall at taking care of the basketball. But in that game, they had 20 turnovers. It was really one of their worst performances of the season. But I think at home here, we see them sharpen it up and play a lot more competitive in this one. Loyola Marymount is not a bad team. I mean, they're a solid rebounding team. They can shoot the three. They're top 100 in three-point shooting. They're also top 100 in three-point defense. We know that's really important against teams like Gonzaga. And I think Loyola Marymount, a team that beat Gonzaga outright last year, can certainly compete in this spot at home. This is a big rivalry, especially for Loyola Marymount. This is like one of the big games they circle on their calendar year after year. Playing with revenge after that bad upset or bad blowout loss, I should say. I think Loyola Marymount competes in this one. I don't think they win the game outright, but I do think they cover the spread. So give me the points here with the Lions at home. And the final game we're going to talk about for the Thursday card in college basketball, it's going to be Utah Valley and Cal Baptist. This one 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Utah Valley was not in great form going into the last game. They had lost 4 straight, and they had actually lost 7 of the last 8 games. But they earned a blowout win in the last one against Abilene Christian, 74-45. But that was a home game. Now you're on the road here. I don't really love this Utah Valley team. I just don't love their offense. The defense is solid. They're a good rebounding team on the defensive side. They force turnovers, but the offense, they're 355th in three-point shooting, 321st in effective field goal percentage to begin with. And they turn the ball over way too much. I just can't rely on this offense, especially on the road, and especially against a really solid defense and an underrated defense, honestly. This is a strong Cal Baptist defense. They're great on the defensive glass, so they should be able to hold Utah Valley to 1 shot per trip almost all night. They've got a solid 3-point defense, but also top 100 in 2-point field goal percentage defense. And shot quality-wise, they force a lot of tough shots. The offense, like Utah Valley, isn't great, but I think it's a lot better than Utah Valley. They get to the free throw line. They're a strong offensive rebounding team. They do a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball, and they can make the occasional 3. I like Cal Baptist in this spot. They're playing with revenge. They lost to Utah Valley earlier in conference play, but this is a much different team since that beginning of conference play. They had started the WAC play with 1-3 conference record. Now they're winning record is 7-5. So give me Cal Baptist in this one. I'm gonna lay the points at home to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Thursday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.